Hello everybody, it's Daniel. Today I'm trying a different approach in my videos of actually reading a prompt I wrote to try to help keep me on topic and to help with the flow of the video. The topic of the day is the fall of civilization. A civilization is defined by the strength of its people. When I speak of strength, I'm not referring to mere physical or military might, nor am I specifying that civilization's size. The strength of their people refers to their willpower and moral code. A major factor that helps to both develop and maintain those two values is the balance between our struggles and our work. Where struggle serves as a currency of our needs and adversity, work represents our efforts to achieve our goals and overcome those very struggles. It is through balancing the two that we are able to find both balance and purpose. Balance is what feeds our sustainability, and purpose is what gives our efforts value. Instead of linear values, work and struggle are represented as a cone value. This is because of the maintenance needed to maintain our work and the build-up factor of adversity. To explain this, I'll use the example of doing dishes, our favorite thing, right? After a meal, you are left with 3 dirty dishes. That is the struggle, being something that needs done. Doing these dishes is the work needed to balance that struggle. I wash those 3 dishes. But say you don't feel like doing them quite yet, and you wait a full day. Now, instead of just doing the dishes of 1 meal, that evening you find the dishes of 4 meals. Instead of a single linear growth of your struggle value, it's multiplied from 3 dishes to an average of 12. This requires the equivalent amount of work to balance it out. As you balance out your work and struggles, those cone values, while facing each other, will create a diamond shape where they cancel each other out. The work has matched the struggle. There is also another dynamic that we have to take into consideration. Struggle creates stimulation, i.e. the production of energy in the body. I won't bore you with the specific details there, but just consider this example. You're driving, just enjoying your day, and someone cuts you off. That interruption creates a sense of struggle where their day interacts with yours. You feel frustration at the intrusion and may even go into a fight or flight mode. Adrenaline hits your system and you respond. While this is a more pronounced example, even on smaller scales, adversity tends to create a chemical response in our bodies that dictates the production of energy to respond to those intrusions. While it's a harder thing to address with getting cut off in traffic, it is important that we make sure to implement enough work in our day to use that excess energy. Too much excess energy in our systems tends to translate into anxiety and or mental and physical disorders. Other mental and physical disorders. By making sure to have enough work in your day to balance out the additional stimulation that you've built up during that day, not only will it help your mental and physical health, it will also give you more meaning to the work you put in. Not only are you exercising for your physical health, but you're channeling out all that extra stress of your day. You'll feel better, you'll sleep better, and feel more rested to begin your next day. While you can't always balance it all out in a day, consistency can help to deal with those occasional spikes of activity. Where this stimulation to work dynamic really hits home is when it comes to digital interactions. This could be watching TikTok, YouTube, social media, and many other forms of entertainment. Digital interactions have a significant impact on our stimulation levels to an unhealthy degree. There was a study done, I wish I could find it again, where they studied the brain activity of 2 children using tablets, and the activity of their brain hit the same levels indicative of heroin use. This is a big part of why digital interactions are so addictive and demanding. While there are several other things to address on the matter, I do have other videos that go into more depth on them. How this relates to the work versus struggle dynamic is that digital interactions lead to a very high level of stimulation that needs to be balanced. I am actually working on a system to help people better balance that work struggle dynamic, and I will be making a future video going over that process. But to refrain from digressing too much in this video, I'm going to stick to how it impacts the current video I'm making. So how An imbalance in people's work and struggle is one of the founding reasons why civilizations fall. And that's the question, right? You see, when people use too much digital interactions and don't balance it out with enough work, then their overall need for stimulation just to remain emotionally viable becomes higher and harder to reach. What this does is it forces them to feed more and more into that digital distraction just to feel okay. Because to do less, even things they used to really enjoy tends to leave them feeling depressed. That's a big part of why balancing the two is so important. When you can't maintain their stimulation levels, they tend to have major mood crashes. So I have a dry erase board. Let me put this in a physical demonstration for you. So say, let me see if you can see this. You have your basic baseline, start of your day, whatever. Say you spend some time with friends, and that brings you a level about here stimulation. It takes a certain amount of work to get to that point, right? And it takes work to maintain. So the work getting up to here and the work to maintain means you can only allow this level of stimulation so long before it has to start going back down so you can rest and recover. So overall, say you had a work value or a joy value of like 3 here. Your average is 0, your joy is 3, you did it for so amount of time, that creates an average level of, just throwing the number out there, we'll say 1.5. So anything over 1.5 is going to bring you more than average joy, and it'll help to raise your mood. Now, when you're dealing with digital interaction, it brings you all the way up like here, more like an 8. So it takes significantly less work to get to that 8 because all you got to do is turn on the tablet. There's also very little work to maintain it, so you're not going to be getting physically tired nearly as quickly, and you can maintain it for far longer periods of time. So instead of that 3 for an hour with your friends before you need to go home and recover, you can do this for the vast majority of the day. And what that does is it changes the average from like 1.5 up to like a 6.5. So even doing something as simple as going and hanging out with your friends, something that was very enjoyable, still leaves you feeling depressed because you're not reaching near the levels of stimulation that you were getting with that digital distraction. So you find people blowing their friends off to go play on their phone. We see stuff like that all the time. And I think that's a big part of what is going on. Now, let me get back to where I was here. Just one second. Okay. So it is this cycle of depression that drops and breaks down a person's value and morality. An example is you have Jill, who is a fairly morally good person. As she begins struggling with a lot of depression, all she wants to do is feel better. Over time, as the depression continues, Jill finds herself being more willing to do things that she normally wouldn't do, whether that's stealing, hurting others, drugs, whatever, just to feel better. What she values in life tends to adjust to these new activities to the goal of how she feels, and her morality breaks down to justify filling those needs. Like, normally, a moral person would not take from others just to enjoy it. But if you're depressed, you're far more willing to not consider how your actions affect others. All you care about is feeling better. As it happens on a personal level, it also tends to happen on a social level. Society is what makes up our civilizations. If you look throughout history, you can see this pattern unfold in the greater civilizations we've known existed and we also know fell. Rome is a perfect example, i.e. the Colosseum. Look at how the need for entertainment broke down the morality of its people. Their people grew weak and selfish in their need to be catered to, and Rome inevitably collapsed. While there are clearly more to Rome's fall than just that, you can clearly see how that sickness at its core and the pattern that followed. Once the people fall into this cycle, that tends to signify the end of that civilization. Mainly because that sickness has tendency to become corruption, it tends to get into the governments, it tends to break all of our social, moral values. It's just not a good thing. So what scares me is that we are already seeing that today. And not just in the United States where I live, but in the majority of civilized countries. The digital connection has brought us all together in our downfall, and instead of just a single civilization collapsing due to this dynamic, It'll be most, if not all of them, collapsing within short order from each other. Basically, completely resetting the world. The end of civilization as we know it. This is why we really need to address this digital addiction and how we are living our lives. If we don't do it now, there's not going to be an option to later. Anyway, that's just something to think about. Let me know what you think about the new format where I'm basically just kind of reading from a prompt. Messed up a couple of times, but I'm not a big video person. I don't like being on camera, so it's something I'm still not super comfortable with. But yeah, let me know what you think about it, and I can consider that with future videos. You have a good evening. Talk to you later.